apprenticeship at the start of their careers. And the quality of these programs is evident. Out of the hundreds of apprenticeship programs in the UK, all 3 services were in the top 10 in 2020. And the women have excelled as a result of these programs, with over 20 women achieving apprenticeship awards over the past 2 years, including Catherine Jennings, who was the Royal Navy's apprenticeship champion in 2019. In fact, over the last 12 months, we've done a lot to further this work across our entire workforce. The Career Transition Partnership has been running a successful employer engagement campaign, which now has almost 10,000 companies signed up and actively looking for military service leavers. All this alongside our continuing work with the Department for Education, universities and Ofqual to get military training and education properly recognised on the National Recognised Qualification Framework. I'm also pleased to confirm that in April we will start similar work with the Scottish Credit and Qualifications Partnership, where somewhere between 7 and 11% of service leavers go on to settle in Scotland, ensuring that wherever you go to live within the Union, Defence is meeting our service leavers' needs. Defence's consideration doesn't stop at service leavers, though. I'm acutely aware that being the spouse of or partner of a member of the armed forces, like my own wife, creates its own problems and challenges for those who look to pursue a career while supporting their loved ones. And that's why we're currently running the Partner Career Support Programme trial. Although it's run by CTP and open to those spouses and partners of service personnel undertaking resettlement, it is also targeted at the partners of those still serving. Again, I'd recommend it to you all. Not only does it provide group webinars and presentations, it provides bespoke one-to-one advice on subjects such as reviewing individual CVs, as well as broader employment advice and guidance. The need to do more to support both women in the armed forces and also female family members is a huge part of my agenda for change as Minister for Defence, People and Veterans. I hope the remainder of the event is a success, and I really look forward to bringing about the changes that this hugely important community of service personnel, leavers and partners deserve. And I'm more than happy to take a few questions or answer any concerns that you may have today.
Thank you, Minister. That was fantastic, and we have had some questions pre-submitted.
Fantastic.
And I will.
That's the best part.
I'll open
Get rid of that light behind me. Just give me.
Okay.
Let alone you. Right. Good. Let's go.
Fantastic. So I also just want to encourage the audience as well to use the Q&A in the chat function, and hopefully we'll have time for a couple more questions after these. So firstly, Minister, from your experience working with employers looking to recruit people from the armed forces community, what are the skills and the experiences that they value the most?
Look, the reality is, right, once you've been in the military, you'll have been equipped with these soft skills that literally in the commercial sector, they will go and pay tens of thousands of pounds to take their workforces away and do team building and, you know, all this stuff that's supposed to engender core values and things like that. You actually turn up with that on day one, week one of your new job. You're bringing an altogether much more attractive package to an employer. That ability to learn and assimilate information that we all know comes with a military career. Is something that is genuinely sought after in my experience. Of course, there are challenges. There are challenges around, you know, getting people to understand how military experience relates to civilian life and the, you know, particularly how that can, you know, how to transfer qualifications, as we spoke about, but really getting people to understand the kind of levels of responsibility you've had in the military and what you've been asked to do. I mean, a classic example is my job now. You know, you know, you go from being in the military to then leaving, and I still feel now, I think that people, you know, whilst they're pleased you've been in the military and so on, there's a misunderstanding of the kind of levels of responsibility and capability that you've had. So look, we've got more to do on it, and we'll keep going.
Fantastic. So we have a question from Tony in the audience. Are there any plans to change the name of job roles throughout the military to fit in with civilian roles?
Not that I'm aware of, no. I mean, we're in a constant competition for talent when it comes to our people, and we want to do everything we possibly can to attract the brightest and the best, to make their lives compatible with service life. We've got things like, you know, the working initiatives where you can work different hours, where you can, the flexible working stuff, the stuff we're doing around wraparound childcare that's coming out this year, 1.4 billion pounds going on that. We're doing everything we can to try and attract and retain the most talented people. If that involves stuff like changing job roles, then it's not something we're adverse to. I think there's conversations that we need to have, but it's not something that's come across my desk thus far.
Thank you. Another question from the audience. So you said earlier on, being a woman in the armed forces is not where you want it to be. What therefore is that?
Well, I want women in the military, but women before they come in the military, looking at the military and thinking, do you know what? I'm going to be the best version of myself if I join the military. I'm going to be looked after, my health and well-being sorted out, but also not only that, but the professional development and the opportunities to work in things that I would never get in the commercial sector mean that I really want to go into the military. At the moment, we've seen things like the Wigston report, which laid bare an unacceptable level of unacceptable behaviours. That's the reality of it. We are going through the Women in Defence parliamentary inquiry at the moment, and some of that evidence is pretty harrowing. So, look, I'm pretty ruthless in my determination to pursue this agenda. I grew up with three sisters, and I have three little girls in my family, and my oldest one wants to join the military. I've also been in the military for 14 years, and I know it warts and all. And I feel we have, that combined with the experiences that I hear, shows me we've got a fair amount of work to do. But we will do it, and we will get there. And defence is changing, but it's a big beast to change. But we will get there.
Thank you. Are you happy to stay on for a couple more questions?
Yeah, of course.
Thank you. So there's been a fantastic announcement quite recently about employers receiving a national insurance holiday when they recruit people from the armed forces. Why do you personally think this is so important?
Look, there's no doubt about it. When you leave the military, having a job is the single biggest factor that will transform your life chances. And it's always been a bit of a mystery to me as to why we, I think we impugn these amazing skills and talents into our people, and then they leave, and that there didn't used to be such a focus on employment. But for me, I want to do everything in that space we possibly can. So you're right. If someone leaves, for the first year they won't pay national insurance contributions. Their employer won't pay national insurance contributions. We're also running a guaranteed interview scheme if you apply for a job in the civil service. What I'm trying to do is just basically take down these barriers and make the UK the best place in the world to be a veteran, where you're not advantaged, right? But you will suffer no disadvantage because of your service. And that, and that's what the covenant was all about. It was all about preventing disadvantage. And, this year, one of the bills I'm bringing through is to make it illegal to discriminate against our service personnel for their service by local authorities in the discharge of their duties around health, housing and education. That again is another small, incremental, but really firm and important step towards improving what it's like to be a veteran in the UK in 2021. So look, we are making progress, and we keep going.
Fantastic. So a question from Ellie in the audience. Will you challenge employers to publicly report their military hiring numbers, so veterans and spouses? And if so, could you imagine setting a percentage?
So it's really difficult because we're in that space, right, where there's always a balance to be struck between encouraging best practice and encouraging people to do it, and then mandating people to do it and losing some of those opportunities. So it's not a question of sort of being scared to do it. It's not a question of residing away from that commitment. It's a question of how do we achieve the best opportunities for people who leave the military to go into employment. We're taking a step down that path by legislating for the Armed Forces Covenant to make it legally enforceable. And yes, there were conversations about doing that in the private sector as well. But we want to see how this works out first. It's always a balance that we're trying to strike. And I don't rule out further legislation in the future.
Thank you. So another question from the audience from Emma. Which experiences and skills are valued by employers for partners or spouses who don't necessarily have the same experience or qualifications as former service personnel?
Well, I think that so we set up something last year, I can't remember the name of it, where we basically had a jobs portal for spouses, online jobs portal where you could go on and apply for jobs, particularly with bigger companies. So a lot of our bases are sometimes quite remote, and it's hard for spouses to find suitable employment. What the spouses bring, look, I think we're all part of the service family, right? So we understand and buy into the ethos and the values and the commitments of service. I think you are going to get that replicated in your workplace, but crucially, you're also going to employ someone who genuinely understands the military. There's so much misinformation out there and perceptions around the military that are just not right. And military life and employing a forces spouse is a significant step towards understanding actually what it is like, and how we can all help to make sure that these guys and girls get a fair crack when they leave.
Brilliant. I'm conscious you're a very busy man, but do you have time for just one final question?
Yeah.
Fantastic. So what are the biggest challenges you found service leavers, veterans, people of the armed forces community, the challenges that they're facing currently, and do you have any advice for overcoming these?
Biggest challenges of today coming out. Honestly, it's not really a problem for our women who leave, right? There's definitely an issue around people leaving and not having the kind of humility to accept that this outside the military is the real world, and the military is a really quite a privileged environment, young, fit, motivated people who want to be there. The real world is not like that. And so I do see, like particularly guys, it's not such an issue around women, but guys coming out just thinking they're going to, they were commanding a company or whatever, and therefore they should be on X amount of money doing X, Y, Z, and all the rest of it. And it just goes horribly wrong. And so I would just urge people to, in their mind, understand that being in the military is quite a privileged place, and it really does equip you with the best skills to come out afterwards. But you have to be with the right mindset, and be prepared to adjust your approach to make employers not be kind of intimidated or scared or misunderstanding or any of these things of employing you, because you're a headstrong veteran. For me now, I very much look back on my life that was a part of my life, right? But it certainly doesn't define me. I think it's helpful, if I'm honest, to have that viewpoint, in order to make a real success of resettlement. Like when I came out, right? I mean, I was a hod carrier for a bit, carrying bricks on a building site. I mean, it was tough. It was really tough, but it just, I learned loads, and it's and I think everyone should be prepared to do that. Be my advice.
Fantastic, thank you. Brilliant words to end on there as well. I'm hoping you can see in the chat and in the Q&A function there how many messages of thanks are coming through for joining us today and for all you're doing for the community. So,
cool. Thank you.
It's a
real privilege, and anything I can do to help. I think it was a real bane for me when I was serving that my wife was like capable. More capable than me, actually. Busy, really good with people, fantastic, and would be an amazing asset to any company. And because of the commitment she made to me, essentially those opportunities were taken away, and I felt terrible about it. And and just in this day and age, with the opportunities for remote working and so on, that should absolutely not be the case. So thank you for everything you're doing. If there's anything I can do in the future, please ask.
Fantastic, thank you.